Hey, good morning, everybody. Daniel Cook here with Cook DFW Roofing, and welcome to another episode of Home Cooking, Home Ownership Made Easy. So today we have a little bit of rain and thunderstorms coming through the Metroplex, and I thought it would be a good morning to talk about weather awareness around your home. There's a lot of new homeowners that the first storm or two that comes through, and they see things that happen around their house, and they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. So that's what today's episode is going to be, is how to protect your home, how to be prepared for storms, and what to look for that could cause damage to your house. All right. And this morning we also have Lyndon with us. And Lyndon, come on in.
Good morning, Daniel. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Good to see you.
You too. You too.
So we got some thunderstorms rolling through the Metroplex. We already had a tornado out in Decatur, it looks like.
Yeah.
And, for the most part, I say this relatively, we see a lot more outlying cities and areas that get severe weather than the Metroplex inner city portion.
Yeah.
But that's not always true. We have touchdowns in the city also very consistently. But if you're looking at per hit basis, I guarantee you it's more in the outliers than the inner areas. So,
right.
But some famous tornadoes, the downtown Fort Worth. Got hit several years ago, probably 15 years ago.
Yep.
Downtown Dallas got hit. That was probably about 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Right there at George Bush and trying to think right there, Gal Rock. That's where that big tornado dropped. That was around. That was actually December 26th.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was probably about 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah, and that was about 3 years ago. There was one that rolled through kind of northwest Dallas, over off of Webb
Correct.
Chapel. Yep.
That was I think that was in October. Year. So that brings up my first subject. Is a lot of people assume bad weather happens March, April, May. That's what everybody has in their mind. I hear that all the time. It's kind of like this thing about hurricane season. Hurricanes. This is when hurricanes are going to happen. That's unfortunately not the same with severe weather, especially here in the great state of Texas, and especially here in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
We can have bad weather 12 months a year. And when I say bad weather, I've actually physically seen it. Thunderstorm and snow at the same time. Thunder snow. So
I've not seen that. That's pretty wild.
It can happen, and I've seen it. And it's
Texas,
a wild,
in
crazy
Texas, it can
experience.
definitely happen. Texas has a weather mind of its own.
Yes, it does. And so you always have to be aware of your surroundings here in Texas. Today, what's going to happen? I feel sorry for all these people who have all these huge decorations in the yards. We're going to have winds.
God, I didn't think about that. 40,
50, 60 miles an hour. And these people's decorations are going to be in the neighborhood next to them. And just a time perspective of how long y'all took to put all those decorations out there in the yard and the lights and everything like that. So if any of the anchors are loose or anything like that, those things are going to be flying all around everywhere. So, But that brings up the first subject we're talking about is wind. So wind can be just as damaging as a tornado. A lot of people don't understand that there's winds are called straight line winds for a reason, because they have a lot of force behind them. And they're not circular rotating winds, but they're straight line winds coming off of the squall line generally. And when those winds come through your neighborhood, they will tear up stuff big time. Mm-hmm. So that's why when you've ever gone through after a big thunderstorm, not after a tornado, you see trash cans all over the sidewalks. You see toys everywhere. I've seen a trampoline leave a person's backyard and end up on top of their roof.
Yep.
Now this was a single story home, but these are the kind of things that people will go, holy cow, I never would have thought about this. But you got to be prepared. Objects are, flying around, and you think of an item that weighs, what a trampoline. What do you think it weighs altogether? 75 pounds, probably.
Yeah, that or maybe even a little more.
Yeah, I mean, so if you can think about Lynn's being able to pick up a trampoline that size and throw it 12 feet up in the air onto a roof. I mean, that was no tornado. That was just a true straight line wind event.
Yep.
So, um, potted plants. I see a lot of those around people's neighborhoods and stuff around their porches, or swinging,
Hmm.
hanging plants around their backyards. Um, flags that you have maybe posted to your home. I see a lot of people with American flags and Texas flags and other kinds of flags. Those things can get whipped around and break that pole completely off of the mounting bracket. So,
Yeah, we had something else. It's not a flag, but the two things that we've had the most trouble with when we get surprised by a storm and a high wind is the umbrella for the patio table.
yep, yep,
Even though it's down, and we've had it where we've got the solid base where you screw it in and tighten it up, and it just breaks the pole off.
right.
Um, and then the other thing is we have the tall torch heater,
Mhm.
um, and those things are kind of fragile anyway. So I wasn't expecting it to get blown over,
Yeah,
and yeah, it got taken out pretty good.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, the real good thing is to have a plan. I mean, if you walk around your home, like we always talk about here on the show, walk around your house once in a while. You need to know what you got around your house, because you'd be amazed how much stuff you gain that you forget. Oh, crap, I forgot we even had that out there. So, if you walk around your house and you see these are possible issues, find a way of either laying them down before the storm, which is a kind of a pain in the butt because every time it has a storm, you got to walk out there and lay something down. I understand. Or think about how to store that maybe in a different way, or have some type of a mounting system, a tie strap or something that you can mount to a post, or something that's stabilized, around your home.
Hmm.
Some people build blinds on the side of their homes to store stuff. That's a really good idea also, is to have some
Yeah.
kind of storage facility that you could store all these things in when they're not actively being used. But winds are a powerful, powerful weather condition, and people cannot underestimate them. So the next thing, obviously, is going to be large thunderstorms with hail. Hail, unfortunately, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. I mean, you need to take cover. You need to stay in your home. Don't go out and play in the hail with a hard hat on, or something of those crazy things that we see guys do all the time, and we wonder how they made it this far in the public, and that's just part of it. But hail is very dangerous. It can cause severely bodily damage, especially some of the large hailstorms that we have. You do not want to go out in hail for any reason. You need to be staying inside. Make sure the pets are inside. Make sure your family is all together. Stay away from windows around your home. You see this happen all the time, and people go, "Holy cow! I never knew hail could break my window." Well, yeah, it absolutely can, and it happens quite often. And people think it has to be these humongous hailstorms, and no, it doesn't. I mean, we had one in Frisco, Little Elm last year on February 26th, I believe, and it had 2.5 and 3 inch hailstones in it, and it broke several windows when it came across the lake and then entered over toward Frisco.
Hmm.
So, and it also depends on the type of windows you have, but sometimes they have double panes, which means there's a pane of glass on the outside and the inside. Sometimes they're triple panes. But I saw personally in that storm where there's windows completely blown out into people's homes through both panes of glass. So you don't want to stand near your windows and do what? Watch outside and see the storm coming. So not a good thing to do. So keep your kids away from the windows. Keep your wife and keep yourself. Keep everybody away from the windows. Another thing people underestimate is the skylights. Skylights will get damaged. You will have falling debris inside your skylight sometimes. Personally seen that several times where we get called out to a house, they have a major leak, and guess what's leaking? Their skylight glass got blown out, and they literally have a hole in the center of the roof. So you cannot underestimate these storms around here. So if you have skylights in your house, do not stand underneath those also during an active hailstorm that you know is hailing outside. The likelihood of something happening to that is high. That is a more thicker glass on majority of the skylights, and it is designed to sustain more damage. but that doesn't mean it will not have a fault. So make sure you're aware of what you have as far as glass, skylights, even little tubes. I've seen a lot of like tubes lights in
Hmm.
bathrooms and stuff like that. All of those are breakable. Those are just glass on top of that roof. So if we get a hard enough hailstorm, those will get damaged. So make sure you stay away from the windows. Keep everybody safe. Hail can be a very, you know, challenging item to get over at your home. So the next item, obviously, is if you do have a tornado situation coming at you, or you've been warned, you either have, sirens in your city, you either have some type of application on your phone that warns you of severe weather or tornadoes. You need to have a designated room in your house where you take your pets, your kids, and any items that you may want to keep with you. Like my wife is notorious about grabbing her Louis Vuitton purse and running into the bathroom with it. So um, make sure you have a plan, though. Don't wait to go look for your purse. You need to know where it's at. So as you're running to your safe room, you can grab it and feel more comfortable about having it with you while the tornado is blowing your house away.
Yep.
So, but make sure you have a plan. And I know that sounds easy, but it's not, especially for a larger family. So let's take this scenario. We got a house in, let's say we have a house in Frisco. We got a couple of dogs. The kid has a pet bunny upstairs in her bedroom. You have a couple of kids. You're all lounging around in different areas of the home, and all of a sudden you hear this siren. So let's imagine this scenario and the panic that all of a sudden happens on everybody's faces, right? So the mother starts to get all kinds of concern. The husband's in the living room watching the storm on the TV or looking out the backyard. The kids are, one of them's upstairs playing, one of them's over here playing, and you got dogs. Who knows where the heck the dogs are? So you need to make sure that you're able to get your family together in a quick amount of time, because usually those sirens and those notifications sometimes only give you like a minute or two.
Hmm.
And although they can give you more, but you need to be prepared to be in your safe room within a minute or two. So you need
Right.
to be you need to almost run a drill. Why do you think they do it in schools? Why do you think they do it in some professional offices? Because they want people to be practicing to be prepared. And you got to. And I know it takes time out of your busy life as a family, but the last thing you want to do is look back after a storm occurred at your house and somebody gets hurt, or somebody, Lord forbid, dies. And you
Yeah.
said, you know what, I really wish we'd have practiced this. This probably would have never happened. So make sure you practice. You and the family need to get together, have a meeting as a family. If the kids are too young to participate on their own, you need to make sure you have a plan in place. Who's going to get little Johnny? Who's going to get little Jane? So if you're home by yourself, obviously it's a really tough situation. We have a lot of parents that stay at home raising their kids. You got to be able to say, okay, I've got to be able to pick up Jane over here and Johnny really quick over here.
Hmm.
And then I got to run down and get to my safe room. So you need to have a plan. You need to talk about it as a family. Make sure you know how. Hopefully, your pets listen to you. And you don't have to go running after them, try to get them in this room. But I will, first and foremost, you and your family need to be in that safe room before the storm hits. Because if the storm hits and you're not there, then it's a worthless cause.
Yep.
Because now, you've got the door open, or you've got half the people in, half the people out. You've seen these stories all the time where the mother's holding onto their kid as a tornado is sucking them up out of the air. So these are scary, scary things that do happen, unfortunately, in the world and in the weather that we have. And, until you experience one, you'll never know what it's about. So,
No.
um,
And also think about this. You also have your pets. You need to understand and think about what you're going to do with pets, because a lot of times pets can get pretty freaked out on some bad weather. And how are
yeah,
you going to handle that? I'm sure most people, if they have a pet that does get a little anxious, they've seen it. But when it starts hitting your house, it becomes a totally different ball
pets
game.
are they're part of your family. I can't say that enough. We are a happy two dog family over here. And I always will kid with everybody. I kid with everybody, but I know this is a fact. If this house ever caught on fire, Carrie would have both of the dogs
Before she
before she
helps
would
you,
tell me. And I know that, and I've accepted that.
right?
I've accepted that. I'm on my own.
Right.
But that's just a fact.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. And a lot of people are like that. I mean, we've met a lot of people that, hey, the dogs are, that's it. That's everybody they care about. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, make sure you have it. I know our family, we're notorious about drugging our dogs. So we have this CBD oil that we give our dogs to loosen their, their anxiety over the
Hmm.
storm and the rain and the thunder and everything like that. So,
Yeah.
uh, but that is something you need to be aware of. Yeah, keep your dogs or keep your cats. I mean, it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to make, round up all your stuff in your house that you care about in a minute.
Right.
That's why I try to explain to everybody: have a plan, but have it practiced. And then as your kids grow older, then there should be like a call word or something. Whatever you're going to do as a family. Tornado, whatever you're going to say. But everybody needs to run down, have a place, have enough place in your room too. I've seen sometimes where people have these little video coat closets that are designed for a coat closet, and
Hmm.
they're trying to cram 4 people in there. That ain't going to work. That
No.
is not going to work. So don't have a realistic safe room that you can go to. So what makes a safe room a safe room? The most interior portion of your home that has a room or some type of, closet, hopefully a larger closet, maybe something under the stairs. I've seen a lot of homes have
Hmm.
storage under the stairs of their home. I've seen there's an interior bathroom, usually, notoriously in the middle of a house, usually at least someplace, in the middle, without windows. If
Yeah.
you do not have a room like that without windows, you need to have some type of covering for yourself when you're in that room. So if debris does break out that window, you don't get glass shrapnel and anything around you. So you should be having some type of covering while you're in that room to protect yourself. Um, you've always heard this. So I grew up like this. So, you got to jump in the tub and pull the mattress over you, right? I mean, I can't say we all grew up now, but anyway, I grew up in that era. I can't tell you how many times I used to have to go jump in the bathtub with my grandmother hovering over me with a mattress on top of me. So,
Hmm.
you know, maybe not that extreme anymore, but the reason why behind that, because they knew the tub wasn't going to get blown away. If you looking back at old tornado pictures and old damage, what did you always see standing after the house was leveled? The
Bathtub.
bathtub and the plumbing. It was always
Hmm.
there because it's mounted down 3 feet into the ground, and they know that, so
Hmm.
that's why everybody ran to the bathtub. But at the same time, if you don't have that scenario, but make sure you have a room that's in the innermost portion of your house. Do not stay on the upper level of your house. I've heard people saying, "Oh, I'm going to stay upstairs. I got it built in. Or I got my media room upstairs is completely." Wait, well, guess what? It's upstairs, and it has the likelihood of the walls getting sucked out around it, and it
Yep.
will blow away. So, make sure you're downstairs, centermost portion of your home. You probably, this is a little extreme. You probably need to make sure you have a emergency kit, a flashlight when your power goes out. You don't want to get out of your room and not be able to see anything. So a flashlight's good to keep with you. Some type of application on your phone. But if your Wi-Fi goes out, obviously that's not going to work. Telephone lines could go down. So some type of maybe a minor radio. They make
Hmm.
these NOAA radios. A weather radio is really good to have with you sometimes if you're in your safe area to understand what's happening. And then if anybody long periods of time, which I don't see this happening, but you may want a bottle of water or two to give to everybody, something in that magnitude. So just be prepared. I can't stress this enough. I'd rather be prepared than be behind. And
Right.
so I'm never one to take chances and to challenge items that could occur at your home because that's not a smart thing to do. You're going to be left on the opposite side of the coin if you do that more times than not.
Yeah.
So
Well, and in Texas, I do think that we have to be super aware in Texas because the weather changes so much, and it hits so fast. And I mean, we've seen the devastation when Garland got hit, when Rowlett got hit. I drove through there, and I've never been to a war zone, but I've seen a lot of them on television, and it didn't look any different. I mean, it
yeah,
looked like a bomb had gone off, and you know,
it actually looks worse in my opinion, Lyndon. I mean, when I look at those war scenes on TV from Ukraine right now and how they're fighting over there tooth and nail in all those cities. When you drive through after a tornado, though, you're talking about everything level. Trees that were 20 feet, tall, 8 feet wide. Those things are just mowed down like you took a large lawnmower and just buzzed your way through that neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
It's insane. It is insane the amount of damage that can occur. And I'm talking on a blink of an eye. I mean, that's an average tornado. I heard this story. You always ask people, how long do you think the damage happened? How long was this happening? And everybody's like, oh, it's 4 or 5 minutes. It's just solid. And they go back and they look at the data. The tornado went in and out of that neighborhood in like 30 seconds. So that's the magnitude of damage that's happening in that short amount of time. But in your mind, it feels like eternity.
Right.
That's of how big of damage is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So tornadoes are one scary thing. But I will say this, tornadoes is, that's not the only weather. And that's why we started out, you have hail, straight line winds, all kinds of different, weather events can occur. And so you just need to be weather aware, keep your family safe, have a plan, make sure your outside is protected from debris that could damage your windows and damage your neighbor's property. There's nothing worse than coming home after a storm and your neighbor knocks on your door and go, hey, is this your trampoline? It broke my $18,000 bay window next door over here.
Uh-huh.
That's you're like, oh crap. Hope I got good insurance,
Right.
So your vehicles, unfortunately, unless you have a big garage and you don't use it for storage, excuse me, those, will sustain some damage probably in a hailstorm, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you can do about that. My wife is owner of the garage at our home, so her vehicle's always in the garage. Mine, unfortunately, is too big. Yeah, I got a truck. I live in Texas. Yeah.
Yep. That's the same as mine.
So it stays outside, but, they make we can get off on the subject a little bit. They do make these huge covers for your vehicles. If you have a vehicle that's going to be stored outside, you can't go inside. They make these huge covers that some people invest in. I've seen them cost anywhere from $500 to $2,000. Yeah, the cover ain't going to help you there, Lyndon.
Not at all.
I don't think the cover's going to work on that scenario.
Nope, it's not going to bounce off like they have to. I saw the other day, someone had taken air mattresses and taped them around their car.
Man, I love our neighborhood. So we have a lot of good down-to-earth guys that live around here. So I was driving through our neighborhood. I don't remember what hailstorm that was supposed to be coming through. We were supposed to have a hailstorm. I don't know. It was all the weatherman was like, oh, we're going to have this massive hailstorm. Oh, And I was always like, nah, I don't believe it until I see it. I'm not one of these people that go out and dance for hell,
Right.
So I drive through coming home that evening, and I will tell you, I probably saw 8 or 9 cars in driveways. Guys that come out with toe straps and toe strap mattresses, air mattresses, anything they could think about putting around their car, on top of their car. And I'm driving through my neighborhood going, what the heck is going on? But everybody's trying to protect their car,
Well, it's just such a hassle once that happens with your insurance company to get everything taken care of. And, of course, you're not the only one calling up and telling them you got hail damage. So they're kind of overwhelmed, to be fair. But it's just, it's the aftermath. I mean, it's the damage, right? And it's the scary situation of what's going on. But then for so many people, what you have to do once it's over, just to get life to go back to normal. And that's even if it's not a bad storm, that the hail damage is a chore. I had a truck that was it was damaged enough they wanted to total it. And I talked them into not totaling it because of the plans I had I was going to do the rhino stuff all over it. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to take it, get the worst dents taken out of it, and then rhino line it, and you couldn't see the little divots in it at all. It was an older truck, and so it wasn't like one of those brand new $90,000 trucks that,
I'm imagining these Honda Civics and these Toyota Camrys are on here rhino line. I wonder how that would be. That'd be interesting,
Well, I tell you what, once I did have it rhino lined, um, it went through some more hailstorms. Nothing like the one in Wiley. Uh, what was that? 10 years ago,
man.
maybe
Yeah,
almost 10 years ago.
yeah.
Nothing like that one where it was going actually through
Decking.
the roof and through the decking and through the ceiling. Um, but it was enough that the neighbors had hail damage, and with the rhino lining, I didn't get any.
Yeah, pretty
So
impressive.
yeah,
You could be starting a trend here, man. We could see a whole bunch of cars just rhino lined up.
right. Maybe you get a insurance break if you have it rhino lined.
You probably could go down to a limited coverage for sure. I don't know how
Yeah.
much money that'd save you. Well, that brings up a good subject, though. What you talked about that earlier is what happens after the storm. And that's something a lot of people underestimate too.
You call Cook DFW Roofing. That's what you do.
If you have a little bit of house damage, absolutely give us a call. Emergency tarping, you'll be surprised what we have to go do after a storm comes through. But but really, for your family's protection, do not go outside and in areas where you have power loss,
Hmm.
and especially if you live in a neighborhood that maybe has power loss and you have overhead wires, you know, lines still. Now, most neighborhoods these days don't have those anymore. It's usually the areas around it that gets it. Or some rural areas that still have electricity lines and everything up in the air. A lot of those in communities or subdivisions are all buried, and you have transformer boxes that are stationed around, and then that's where the power comes from, and then down, the line is where power is generated and it travels. But you always hear about everybody going out in some of these rural areas with power lines down, and they're not sure, and they start walking around in these puddles of water, and there's a live wire that may be 50 yards downstream, and that electricity is still flowing through that water. So,
Hmm.
be careful. If that's a situation that you live in around near power lines. But even if you don't, some other situations, if you go through a heavy damaged area, natural gas explosions are very common
Hmm.
after. So you need to make sure that you're getting away from those properties that get really damaged until all the utilities are turned off. God forbid that your home sustains a whole bunch of damage, but if it does, the likelihood of some of those pipes getting bent, busted, some of those items, breaking off at the adapters where they connect in is very highly likely.
Hmm.
And so you need to make sure you're not standing around the house with natural gas still foaming out, because if that happens, I mean, any kind of combustion and that whole area blows up right there around you.
Yep.
So that's something that nobody probably thinks about unless they've been talked to or unless they've been trained on these kind of matters. And you're so worked up with adrenaline, your house just got blown away. You got your family, you figured out you're all safe, and now you're standing around looking at everything because you're just like, oh my god, my house just got blown away, and you're not thinking about how much danger there still is happening around you. So
Right.
get once the storm has passed over, once you figured out you and your family are safe, get out of that house, get out of that area, get to a safe area somewhere in front or somewhere in back of your home. Wait for the authorities to come. Generally, authorities are pretty smart. They got those electric companies and gas companies on call when the storms are coming through. If they see substantial damage, those are making calls. The city managers are coming through. They're telling those utility companies, get out there and turn off all that electricity, turn off the gas, turn off the water, because you got water, spraying out sometimes from pipes busting. So very, very scary situation. So,
Yep.
but make sure you're prepared before, during, and after for weather events around your home. So,
All right. Well, Daniel, another good show. We're just about out of time. I know you want to tell everybody how to get in touch with you in case anything does happen. If you've been watching our shows, you know that Daniel and his team know exactly what to do in these circumstances. And so, we want to encourage everybody to give him a call if anything happens and you want somebody to come out and check it out, tell you what you need to do, and then take care of it for you. So, Daniel, I'll let you close us out. And thank you again for being a part of the difference. Love this show. Very helpful for anybody that owns property or owns a home.
Excellent. Well, thank y'all for joining us today. Again, you can contact us 833-COOK-DFW. My email is daniel@cookdfw.com. Feel free, give me an email, give me a call. We'd love to take care of your house. If you do need emergency services, we are available. That includes tarping from your roofs, glass enclosures, coming out, taping up, and covering a skylight that may have got busted. Patio problems, post. There's a lot of things that happen, and we want to be there for you. So feel free to give us a call, and we'd love to take care of your home. Everybody, y'all be safe. Take care. Bye-bye.